Hi guys, so this episode is going to be all about the frames of the bike and how they're made, what kind of stuff you'd be looking for when you're looking at the frames. It seems like a bit of a boring one, but I think this is where you should start when you're starting to learn about motorbikes, and I'm learning myself, so this is the first part that I've started to do some really good research on and how to learn these frames from the beginning. So this is called a backbone frame. So there's 6 different types of frames, which there is a single cradle frame, which again there's an image here for you, and what that is, you can see that there is one single frame that holds the engine, and as you can see on this one, this doesn't have a holder here where normally you would have a bit of a holder that would hold the engine in down at the bottom there. So this is why this is classed as a backbone, because when this is sat up like this, you'd have the back seat on the back of the motorbike there, you'd have your seat here, gas tank would be here, and this would be your forks going into the end here. So this is called a backbone one. It is normally predominantly used on bikes like a 125s, not so heavy, so you can get away with them. They are cheaper made, and normally made out of steel, which again is very heavy. So again, you'd see these in cheaper bikes just because they're so easy to manufacture. But the good thing about steel as well is that they're more forgiving. So if you do have a hit or fall off and you bend it, you can normally bend these chassis, these back to the straight way that you want them. You can also respray them. So we have resprayed this one and sanded it down and put it back to a really, really good standard. So what did we do with this bike? When we got it, we stripped it off. We stripped everything out, the engine, everything off it completely. And what we did is we took the frame and we cleaned it off, and then we put some paint stripper on it, as you can see in the video here. We then stripped it right back, and we degreased it, and then we put on what's called a rust neutralizer, which then neutralizes all the rust. It turned the frame blue, just like this. It looked great. And then from that, you can actually then spray your primer onto it. And what we used is an etch primer. So we used this great acidic etch primer, which is great for when you go back to metal. I think that's a really good learning point, is if you are taking the bike or the frame back to metal, it is absolutely crucial that you get a decent primer that's going to really stick to that metal, and not just getting any basic primer. That will definitely help it stick, and it has. It's really, really gone on really, really well. And then the black went onto it really, really well as well. And what I am going to do is I'm going to lacquer this next as well, so it's going to get a full lacquer paint on this as well, so it'll get a bit of shine, and just that additional bit of protection from rub, from rain, from weather, all that kind of stuff is going to go into this. So there is some other different frames as well. So you've got the single cradle frame as well, which here it is showing there. But what that is it's normally made out of a mild steel tubing. It's occasionally chromoly or a high quality bills. One loop runs under the engine, so that's how you can kind of tell if it is going to be one of these ones here. It's got the one loop that runs under the engine. Why it exists? So why is this here? Well, it's cheap, it's simple, and it's easy to manufacture. So these again are normally used in cheaper bikes, smaller bikes, mass-produced bikes, which they can be thrown out quickly. The strengths of these is they are easy to repair. They're forgiving in crashes, good vibration absorption. The weaknesses of these is they flex under load, so again they're not great for really heavy load, and poor high-speed stability. The thing is that they are very heavy compared to some other ones that you might get. So used on small cc bikes, like I say, 125s and maybe 250s and so on, 50 cc's, you'll predominantly see these bikes being used. Then you've got your double cradle frame. So what does a double cradle frame do? Well, that's got your 2 lower pipes at the bottom, which would hold in your engine. So again, these are normally made from a mild steel or a chromoly steel. How it is built, it has got 2 rails, cradles on the engine, so it can hold a little bit more of a heavier engine. The strengths, so it's got a good strength, and it's got a good load spreading, so it can spread that load a little bit more. So the strengths and weaknesses of this, starting with the strengths, it is strong, it's stable, it's durable. The weaknesses of this, it is again, it's very heavy, made out of steel, and less agile. It's normally used on classic bikes, touring bikes, and some off-road bikes will also use this as well. And then you've got the backbone. The kind of what I would class this frame as is a bit of a backbone, and it's pressed steel, box section steel, sometimes aluminium, but this one is a steel frame, which I'm pretty glad for, because I'm restoring this bike. It is great to see that it has got a steel, because I've been able to really, really go back to the steel and respray this and get rid of all the rust and get it ready to go back on the bike, which is great. It's got one main spine over the engine. The engine hangs underneath, so on this one as well, well, you will see the engine hangs underneath. It does sit into these sprockets here, so it'll sit into that, and then the engine will sit. You'll see that in our later videos when we start putting this bike back together. So why does this one exist? It's weight saving, because you're taking out some of these, taking some of the bottom steel out. It's cost saving, and it's a compact packaging. It's a bit more lightweighter. It's a simple layout, and it's cheap to build, but it's limited by its stiffness. Engine mounts take more stress, but it's normally used on a 125cc bikes, commuters, and naked bikes as well. And then you've got the trellis frame. So again, here's an image here. So this is a thin wall chromoly steel tubing. So how it's built, it's it's got triangular networked tubes, uses geometry instead of thickness. This one here is strengths is it's got some excellent feedback from people that use these. It's strong, but it's really light. It's easy to tune the stiffness. The weakness of it is it's labor intensive, it requires skilled welding, can crack if poorly made, and it's normally used on performance bikes in European sports bike. And then you've got the twin spar frame. So what is it made of? This one's made of cast aluminium. So it's got two large beams from the headstock down to the swing arms. The engine often stressed members. So why does it exist? Ultimate stiffness, precise handling. It's extremely rigid, stable at high speeds, and race ready. The weakness of this is it cracks instead of bending, hard to repair and expensive. It is used on sports bikes and super bikes. And then you've got the monocoque frame. So this one here is, what is this one made for? It's aluminium, it's carbon fiber era, so it's very rare, and again it can be extremely expensive. So how is it built? It's frame and body combined, engine often mounted inside the structure, extremely weight saving, aerodynamic as well, integrated. It's very light, it's very stiff, but it's very expensive, hard to service, not crash friendly, used on race bikes, experimental designs as well. So just a final rule that steel frames bend but can be fixed, aluminium frames crack and usually can't. So that's a rule for probably 90% of real world decisions when it comes to looking at frames and what we do with them. So the one again that we're using is perfect for 125s. So that's what we're working on. We're working on the Zondis Monster. It's a 125, so this is a perfect frame for that, and it has been a pleasure to work with while we are building this frame of this bike. So what to check when you're looking at your motorcycle? What to check when you get the frame back to this? What are some of the good stuff to look at? So the main things is going to be like cracks around the welds. It's probably most important is looking at all the welds that are around the bike. So welds here, welds, all of the components here. You've got quite a few running across the bike and around, and where everything joins up, you just want to have a look and make sure that there is no evidence of any sort of cracking around any of the subframes or anything that is connecting to it. Any sort of evidence of that, you will have to do some welding work or take it to a specialist to get welded to make sure that it is structurally sound to go back onto the bike. You'll also want to check to make sure that it's straight as well. It's not being bent or moved or anything like that. Again, there is some specialist equipment out there that you can get, but from I can see that this definitely hasn't been bent or there's no issues with that. So that is again a really lucky point to this bike. So after you've checked all of this stuff, you'll also have a look at the headstock to see if it's cracked, oval. So see if the top end of this bike here has been cracked or has got any issues here as well. So making sure that this is perfectly circle on both ends and is looking decent. And again, there's no cracks or issues with that. And again, we're the same with this one as well, making sure that is welded properly and is looking pretty decent, straight, and no issues with that one as well. So you want to be looking at the mounting tabs and brackets, check for bent tubes, cracked welds, elongated bolt holes as well. So any issues with bolt holes or cracks in the bolts that you might find along there. Alignment, like I said earlier, just making sure that along the headstock and through the swing arm is straight as possible. And then when we go back to putting the bike together, we'll be looking at like the steering head bearings and how to check and how to grease all of this stuff back up for when you're putting the bike back together. Is just making sure all this is greased inside here, because this is where your bike's going to be turning a lot, and we don't want any friction in that, and we want it to move as smoothly as possible. So I'm going to show you how to do that as well in the later videos when we start putting this back together, and what greases that'll work in this, what greases you can get to put back into this, and how it all fits back in and sits in. So what are some of the best greases that you can use for that? So just some car lube kind of stuff, some multi-grease or anything like that, wouldn't be too bad. So high moly grease, lithium complex grease, waterproof bearing grease, so like a marina grease, because you are going to get some water and stuff like that, that's going to get into this. So what you want is something that's going to be able to deal with that. What you don't want to do is getting all this washed out, all this, and then it be starting to get a bit of friction and not functioning as well as you want it to do. So some real good lube in there, but again, not too much where you're overdoing the grease on bearings or anything like that. It's the worst thing you can do. So how do you grease correctly? So if you are just watching this video just for subframes, how to grease correctly is make sure we clean down the bearings with some what I would normally use is some brake cleaner. So if you're cleaning out anything, just take it back with some brake cleaner, dry it fully, make sure it's fully dry, pack the grease into the bearings, push grease until it squeezes through the rollers, and then light coat on the racers, and then reassemble it all from that. So that is pretty much it on the frames of the bike and the types of frames that you would normally see when you're doing these kind of bikes. They're all there pretty much for the same reason. They are the spine of the bike. They hold the bike together. They hold the engine. They hold your seat. They hold your tank. It is the spine of it. It is like the spine in your body. It holds it all together. It's very important, very crucial that there's no issues with it, no cracks. It's not bent. It's not doing that, because that can just ruin the whole project. So I think getting this right is probably one of the most crucial parts to your build. It's right at the back. The last thing you want to do is putting the bike together, realizing a problem, and then taking it back off. But that is that. So thank you so much for watching this video on subframes, how subframes work. I am going to be going over some more stuff when we start putting this together. So this is pretty much of a part one of how the how the frame of a motorcycle works. I know that my talking can be a little bit boring and monotone. I am just still getting used to YouTube and doing videos. So I promise I will get better, and I promise I will try teach you guys as much as possible as I'm learning as well. So I will sometimes get some stuff wrong, so always do your own research, but I hope you will subscribe, follow as I learn and I build, and we build motorbikes together, restore loads of bikes together as a community, help each other and support each other. So again, thank you so much for spending this time to watch this video, and I hopefully will see you in the next one. Thank you.